Hey everyone. Please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Rao is the greater god of peace, reason, and serenity, and we're going to talk about him today on Greyhawk Rock. In the world of Greyhawk, we're told that greater deities rarely intervene in the affairs of mortals. And one of these greater deities that you hear a lot about is Rao. And he was originally named in the guide, the Gold Box Guide, as the Flan, um, greater god of peace, reason, and serenity. He's lawful good and he's male. That's all we're really told about him. He's just a name and a couple of stray words, which is unusual. Well, it's not really unusual because there were only a handful of deities that were actually described in any detail in the book, and they were likely to be more involved in the affairs of players and clerics and so forth. He does get mentioned, however, later on in From the Ashes, and the reason I think is because he's fundamental in in changing in changing how things happen after the Greyhawk Wars, and I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, in the book, he's given about half a page, which is fair, par for the course in this book. The serene, detached god of reason, intellect, and peace. The power does not act on the prime material directly, but he is known to have created several magical artifacts which are highly potent against evil, notably the Crook of Rao. And he also makes a delicious pasta sauce, possibly with the aid of Bacab. And they talk about his priests, their mediators and negotiators, wise and quiet people. Um, the High Patriarch in Greyhawk was instrumental in the diplomacy that ended the wars. Um, and they give you the different spell spheres and stuff like that, because remember, this was the 2e era. um, they get a friend's spell. They get +2 on saving throw versus illusions and mind affecting spells. They get the spell Emotion Calm at 7th level. At 9, they get True Seeing. They're not very good at turning undead. That's really all we get here. And it's in Greyhawk City is where we see one of his most famous and powerful clerics. In Greyhawk, the Gem of the Flaness, we get. Come on, open up. The Temple of Rao is the humble sanctuary is the home of the Patriarch of Rao, Jerome Kazinskaya. Is a 19th level cleric, which is for this era, that is crazy high level. Um, uh, but instead of the typical religious harangue, these observances, they're talking about what services to Rao look like. Um, these observances involve long, reasoned discussions among church elders on the virtues of a controversial topic, followed by hours of silence during which the entire congregation meditates on the issue. Few individuals remain for the entire ceremony. It can last 8 to 10 hours, but the chapel is filled all day on God's day as the faithful arrive, linger for an hour or two, and depart. The faith of Rao is very uh, popular in the city of Greyhawk and in the surrounding areas. He's mostly found in the western Flaness rather than in the east, but sometimes some of his clerics will wander over there and try to help put things back together after the destruction of the Great Kingdom and so forth. Um, but what's interesting about Jerome, our 19th level cleric friend, um, he's got a cloak of displacement, a crooked staff of Rao, and so forth. Uh, now, Jerome is one of the highest ranking priests of Rao in the entire Flaness, and it is known that he receives many visitors from foreign lands requesting his advice and counsel. And he is actually one of the oligarchs of the city. He's one of the ruling council of the city, and they use that against him in the council because they say, you're meeting all these foreign dignitaries and so forth. How can you be how can you be neutral when you're deciding an issue. But they also then say, oh, you can't leave because we need, we could never do without your wise counsel and so forth. So basically, they're playing a game where they say you can't do anything, but you also can't leave because you're too important. So they he's kind of boxed in there, which I thought was just a really nice little touch. Now, what really makes Rao so significant is an artifact called the Crook of Rao. And this was the MacGuffin in the module Isle of the Ape. Right, you're supposed to go to the Isle of the Ape, and what you're looking for is that Crook of Rao. And there's all kinds of perils. Obviously, there's the giant gorilla, and there's all kinds of other stuff. There's a demon guarding the thing and so forth. But what makes the Crook of Rao really important is that it is used in what's called the Flight of the Demons. Because after the Greyhawk Wars, there's all these demons and demodans and things running around in the Flanaess. And the Crook of Rao is used to basically banish all of them back to their home planes. And it really significantly changes the feel of the Flanaess from being kind of like this points of light in a sea of darkness setting to once again being a hopeful setting where there's balance and so forth. So, in that respect, the Crook of Rao is arguably more important than Rao himself in the history and timeline of the setting. But in terms of of having a cleric of Rao, we can extrapolate out for fifth edition. In fact, I've got a 5e version of a priest of Rao as a specialty class on the blog in the free resources section. You can go check it out. But basically, they're going to emphasize um, nonviolent resolution and so forth. They're not pacifists per se. They realize that when the time for action has come, decisive action must be taken. But they take a long time to get there. So it might be a little different than most players are used to playing a cleric. As a lot of them like to charge in with their mace and so forth. But also they're not going to just stick around and be healers. They're going to actually try to negotiate their way out of a lot of situations, which can actually add to a campaign in a great way because it gives the DM the opportunity to do stuff other than have combat, which is always welcome from the DM standpoint. So it's definitely a great option. There's obviously a lot more material on Rao. He's appeared in Dungeon magazine, or his clerics and paladins and so forth have appeared in Dungeon magazine and Dragon over the years. There's a lot of other stuff in there, but those are the highlights. He's the god of serenity. He's his priests want to mediate disputes, and that's really what encapsulates his essence right there. Which is a nice change from a lot of the deities that we've been talking about in recent months. So, anyway, hope you like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you ever had a cleric of Rao? If so, I'd love to hear about it, how it went. And hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later.